Last one. Love or career?
Do I really have to
Yeah.
choose? It doesn't. You always have something to give, and it's nothing to do with volume, but it's something to do with the quality of what you're giving. And true enough, when you give, there is this sense of fulfillment that comes with it, and when you see that what you have given made a huge impact to someone else,
Yeah.
that is sort of, if you're looking at ROI, but there shouldn't be, right?
Mhm.
Because when you give, that should be a selfless act. And besides everything that we have, they were also given to us by the one who is the provider.
Yeah,
So
agree.
365 days.
Yeah, hot double with J.
Welcome to Thought Bubble with Jay. I am your host, Jessie, a corporate analyst, side hustler, and an advocate of creating with intent. So, let's burst those thought bubbles and turn them into convos. Let's speak our minds and dive into the nitty-gritty of it all, whether it's mental health, adulting, creativity, faith, and life in general. Join the conversation by using the hashtag #ConvosWithJay for your comments and suggestions. And, hitting the subscribe button is greatly appreciated. Thanks for listening. I've been supportive since
Yeah, we're the guinea pig. Italino siya.
That's true.
Hey.
Yay! First year anniversary!
Happy anniversary!
Thank
Thought
you!
Bubble with J.
Thought Bubble with J,
1
first
year.
Whew. That's so hard. Alright. Thanks for the balloons, Bien.
Okay, so
Wow.
it's been a year.
It's been a year. And I don't know, it feels surreal to be celebrating first year. I'm not sure even if we should celebrate it, but I just feel like I need to celebrate the milestone.
Yeah, we need to. When you were talking about this and you reminded me that, it's been a year already, then I was
Yeah.
really thinking about it. Time flies so fast that I didn't realize that it's been a year already.
Yeah. Do you remember when we were conceptualizing the idea? So if you guys don't know, let me just introduce the topic for today. So welcome to the Sunday episode. This is Sunday Sella for Thought Bubble with Jay. And normally I will talk about self-growth, faith, and anything that's related to productivity and faith. But for today, it's gonna be a special episode because it is the first year anniversary of the podcast. And it's a major milestone for me because joining with me is Bien, and you've heard him on the pod for several times already. If you remember this is the third time. So if you remember the Black Lives Matter, and then your birthday, the Big Sur Wars, and then the time capsule. And what's the first one? I can't remember.
Yeah, that's the first one.
No, that's the first one.
The second one was the
birthday capsule. So, if you guys don't know, so the quick backstory was that we started talking about the podcast, our dreams in
2017.
2017.
2017.
Yeah, December of 2017.
I remember we were in Soler.
We were in Soler.
After the wedding of our friend
from Sofitel.
Sofitel, yeah.
And we didn't have a room to stay in. So
we decided to go to Soler.
We decided to go to Soler and wait it out.
Yeah, we didn't sleep, right?
We didn't sleep. We just
I remember we're just in this couch and we're just talking about the dreams that we have, our childhood, our when you were on our younger days.
Yes, we're still young. So we are.
Yeah, we are.
And we were talking about our dreams.
Yeah, and I remember I vividly remember when you told me that one of your dreams is to become a broadcaster.
Yeah. Or a DJ.
A DJ, yeah.
That was a dream. That was one of my dreams. Yeah.
Correct.
So, thanks to Anchor.
So, moving forward, this podcast was like a realization of those dreams, right?
Yeah. So, it was unexpected because I had no idea I don't know anything about podcasts before. Mm-hmm. But we started talking about it again in 2019.
2019, yes.
I remember it was October. And I still have the clips from that conversation. Yeah. So we were out in somewhere near Singapore Management University, SMU, right?
Yes.
We were out. It was chaotic. It was very noisy. And we started thinking about The podcast. What was the title?
The 8 something.
Bien and Jesse at 8.
At 8.
Yeah, because it's 8.
I actually don't remember. Can't remember the reason why.
I remember it's 8 because people normally do a top 10. So we were like sort of mirroring it or patterning it with the Morning Rush. The top 10 thingy. So it was, so that was the concept.
Yeah, but what I can remember on that one, it's like we were recording and she just like, okay, let's record it. Then she was talking and I was like, how come she do have a lot of things to say and I don't know what to say?
Yeah, I remember watching the video and he was like just looking at me and
I don't know what to say.
I was like a major chatterbox and then Bien was like just looking at me every time I talk.
I don't know what to say.
So that was the end of it. Then we realized that okay, I will have you as a guest.
Yeah, and maybe that's not for me.
That'd be a mainstay. But that was monumental for me because you were actually the first person who heard me talking about podcasts. And you have been very supportive since then. Well, in anything that I do. So thank you. Yeah. And now we're here. It's the first year. And
time
after
flies so fast,
58 episodes. This is the
58.
Yeah, I've done 58 episodes. So it's like wow. So I've done more than 2 episodes per week, I guess. Yeah, it's been a wild ride.
Agree. And let's go back to the past year.
Okay.
I remember it was the pandemic season already, right?
Yes.
Circuit breaker, is it? Not yet. Yeah.
Singapore hasn't
announced
circuit breaker. I think it was April 7th when they announced it. So it was April 3rd when I launched the first episode.
Yeah. So what brought you to that situation where you started the podcast, or when you realized that you want to start it already and to publish it?
Okay, so you remember October, we had the conversation and we did a trial run of the podcast. So I was itching to do it, but then I don't know, for some reason, and maybe because I was going through something personal during that time, I decided not to pursue it. But then my father died in April of 2020. And
also before.
2020. Right, 2020. Yeah. So it was last year. And I stopped creating since he passed. From the time that I stopped creating. I didn't want to do anything. I didn't want to pursue anything.
You stopped creating what? The arts. The art
everything.
side. Or everything.
I stopped creating everything. And I don't know, because he's always been my cheerleader. And I thought that losing him sort of led me to a point that I felt like I lost my sense of worth. And so I was in that moment, and then I just basically didn't want to do anything creative. So I stopped. I was in a season of grief. But then he appeared in my dream.
Oh, what's the dream?
He was telling me that he's okay and that I should move on and go on with my life. And he was smiling. And that was sort of a signal. When I woke up, that was sort of him reminding me that even though he's gone, he will always be there cheering me on from heaven. And that was sort of a light bulb moment and made me realize that, okay, I need to get back on track. Because wherever I'm sure he is with our Father, right? He's in heaven. But wherever... if he's looking down, he would want me to pursue everything that I want.
I think he'll be so proud of you right now.
I think he would be so happy that I'm pursuing this.
Yes.
Because it's something that I've always wanted. So pandemic has already started, but that was not the main reason why I started the podcast. It was really more of me pursuing the childish dream that I had of becoming a radio jock or a broadcaster. I'm just putting my voice out there and for other people.
Because you do have that talent.
Thank you.
So I think it's worth it to share those.
Okay.
Yeah. But I'm just curious, when you started, what were the fears that you have back then? Like, do you fear of being judged? Do you fear that no one would listen to you? Do you fear that you won't have any followers regarding this one? Or do you have those fear that am I just wasting my time on this? Or I mean, what's the motivation that led you to continue this podcast? And now it's 1 year already.
Okay, I'm gonna break that question into three. So first was the fear. So I had a
Mm-hmm.
lot of those. Fear of not being able to sustain it. That's one. Fear
Mm-hmm.
of rejection. People, what will
Mm-hmm.
be the feedback of other people, and
Mm-hmm.
then third would be the imposter syndrome of fear of not being good enough
Mm-hmm.
to hold a podcast this long. So
Yeah.
those were my fears. I had more, but those were the major ones when I was starting.
Mm-hmm.
And motivation.
Okay.
All right. So motivation was it was because it was my dream, so that's one.
Mm-hmm.
And then number two is I knew that I had something to say. And
Mm-hmm.
I love stories. I love storytelling, and I believe that we are all connected by stories. So if my story can help someone navigate through whatever that person is going through, then that's me living out my purpose in life. That's me doing something that other people might benefit from
Mm-hmm.
and in a way would add value to their life. So why would I deprive someone from experiencing or having the help
That you
and
can
sort of
offer.
that I can offer that
Yeah.
I also got and have gotten from someone else
Mm-hmm.
through stories. So podcast is really a good platform to do that. And
But how did you manage to overcome those fears? Like for me, because I'm thinking of creating my own podcast as
you
well.
should. This is the best time to do a
But what
podcast,
hinders me
everyone.
on pursuing those are those fears. Like I do
Mm.
fear of being bashed. Like
Mm.
will I sacrifice the peace that I have right now when if I continue with this one being bashed or being judged for this one, or how do you overcome those fears? Like that's like what I mentioned earlier.
Every now and then that will creep up.
Mm-hmm.
But I think when you talk about fears, if you dwell so much, if you
Mm-hmm.
let fear control you,
Mm-hmm.
what's gonna happen is it will immobilize you, it will paralyze you,
Mm-hmm.
right? So the first thing that I did was to label
Label.
my fears.
Mm-hmm.
When you put a name, when you put a tag, a label on
Mm-hmm.
that, then you will start to dissect why do I fear this so much. So
Mm-hmm.
let's say, for instance, I fear of rejection. Why do I feel rejection? What is it something about other people giving out their opinion and saying that
So you go to the
no?
root cause. Is it?
Yeah, so I
Mhm.
dissect, and that really helped me. And writing down those have really helped me to understand where my fears are coming from.
Alright, so for example, the rejection part.
The rejection part
Mm-hmm.
is I've always been an achiever growing
Mm-hmm.
up academically, right?
Mm-hmm.
But on the flip side of it, I had a lot of insecurities.
Mm-hmm.
So when I finally had the chance to do what I want, there's this nagging feeling that people are gonna bash you. People will have opinions of you and feedback of what you're doing, and they would say
Yeah.
that
Agree.
no, you're not really good at what you're doing.
The imposter syndrome.
The imposter syndrome is will always kick in. But what I've come to realize is that those are opinions of other people, and
Mhm.
they will have control over me if I let them have a control over me. And
Mhm.
whether I do something or if I just do nothing,
Mhm.
people will always have something to say about it.
Mhm.
And that's beyond my control. But what I can control is how I do respond to it.
Yeah.
So instead of just when I let that sink in, I realized that okay, I might as well do this because if I do nothing, if I don't move and don't cause any waves, people will have an opinion anyway.
Yeah.
So might as well do it and let them have an opinion, and that's theirs. But that doesn't mean that it's the truth.
Yeah.
Opinion those are their opinions, but they're not facts.
Okay. I'm curious about that.
Mm.
Regarding the opinions, the criticism, all of those, what are what are those that you accept and you try to what you call this internalize
Mm.
or something that you check, or what are those that you just let it go?
Okay, so there are different types of feedback, right? So you have
Mhm.
constructive feedback, and then there are those opinions of other people that are meant to bring you down.
Mhm.
So you always need to have wisdom as well. So
Mhm.
I think when it comes to getting feedback, it's important that you have I call them like your circle.
Circle.
Yeah, those are the people that you trust. These are the people who will call you out if you're doing something wrong,
Mm-hmm.
and will have radical compassion.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so those are the type of feedback that you would want to keep.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's constructive, whether it's not a good, not entirely good feedback, but those feedback are important for you to grow.
But have you received one? I mean, the not so constructive one?
Yes, I mean, I remember some of my episodes, right?
Oh.
You were telling me that, that episode was kind of a drag. You did tell
I
me.
did.
Not entirely, not in that verbatim, but you did say that was not as good as your previous episodes. And I tried to listen to that episode and I felt
I think I'm always supportive.
you have always been supportive, but those are the kind of feedback that you would want, right?
Uh-huh.
And these are the people who really cares
Mhm.
about what your content is, what you're putting out there.
Mhm.
So not getting in feedback, it's not really a good thing. I think it's important that we get feedback from the people we trust,
Yeah.
because these are the people who will have an outside perspective of what you're doing, but at the same time who cares enough
Mm-hmm.
to give to share their thoughts.
Yeah.
Yeah, thought bubble. So yeah,
Agree. Let's go back to the one that you mentioned earlier regarding motivation.
motivation.
I'm curious about this. What motivates you to continue? What motivates you to continue doing, and as of now 58 episodes already, right?
Yes.
So what motivates you to continuously do it, and now it's 1 year already?
Okay.
Because I was thinking what are the motivations that I should have in order for me to start? Like, should it be money? Should it be fame? Should it be purpose? Should it be love? Should it be passion? I mean, I'm just curious. What are your motivations?
Okay, so when we talk about motivation, I think we're talking about the why behind,
Mm-hmm.
right? So when I started the podcast, it was more of like I just want to realize this dream. I just want to do it because it was a little bit more on the selfish side, because I just want to be able to hear my voice on Spotify. So that was sort of the first why.
Mm-hmm.
It was really more of like, this is what I want to do, so might as well do it, right? So it was more of personal consumption. But as I go and publish episodes and I can think of a topic, I start to think more of how will this benefit my audience, how will this benefit the people who
So
will be
it's more
listening.
of giving.
So it was more of like service. And I think
Service, yeah.
in anything that we do, especially when as a creative, and you are a creative too, because you have your YouTube, you have your Instagram. So you talk about travel a lot, and you give this tips to people on where is the most Instagrammable place, and more than
The
that,
post.
yeah, what kind of post you should be doing. So when I started preparing topics, I realized that wait, the way I construct the outline of the podcast is based on how it will serve and add value to the people who are listening, who will be listening to the episode, whether it's 5 or less than 5 or 10. Someone will definitely pick something from it, and it might be useful to whatever they're going through. So like the first few episodes, I think the first 10 episodes were all about during the pandemic, the quarantine,
Yes, yeah.
because everyone was going through it. So how do you manage working from home? How do you do virtual meetings? What are the
I think
creative...
that's the most memorable for me, the virtual
Yeah,
meeting.
the vir-
It was memorable to me because I remember I messaged you regarding this one. I told you that, you know what, this one is really informative.
Mm.
And you evolved so much from that on. And I realized that, hey, this girl's really serious about this stuff, about this podcasting. And that's a turning point for me. I mean, for you. I mean, for me, that's the turning point of your podcast. That's the time that I realized that you have a gift regarding this craft. So now, what are the other motivations that you have?
So I talked about, thank you for affirming that, about service, and I'm glad that resonated with you, the virtual meeting. So I talked about service, and so initially it was more of a solo episode, right? And I was just gathering feedback from people and looking at their pain points, what are the main pain points during the pandemic, and how would I be able to help based on what I've experienced, and any practical tips that I think might help them navigate through this unprecedented time. And then I started interviewing people, especially those who are in a relationship. Like, how do they manage living in the pandemic when they are in long distance relationships
Mm-hmm.
or when their wedding is canceled. So I as I interview people and as I research on topics, it's not just me sharing the wisdom with other people, but it's also I am learning as I go.
Yeah.
And that really motivates me because it's as if I'm reading a book
Mm-hmm.
in real time and getting like hands-on and practical tips from people that I converse with either through the interviews or just conversations like this. And then now I am pivoting it into creative conversations.
Mm-hmm.
So I have been inviting people from the creative community to talk about their process because there are a lot of people within my network of creatives who are either starting out on their creative journey or who
Mm-hmm.
would want to position and scale their business into a full-time creative business. And I think they have a lot of questions, but either they don't know how to ask it, who
Mm-hmm.
to ask, and how to publish or get access to those resources who can provide answers.
Yeah.
So I'm sort of hoping that the podcast will be an avenue for it, would be
Mm-hmm.
a platform to have those kind of conversations, to ask those questions that I personally have as a
Yeah.
creative.
True. Yeah, I agree with that one. That when you mentioned that it's about service, it's about giving, and at the
Mm.
same time you're learning from those
Yeah.
interview. Yeah, it kind of resonated with me as well because whenever I talk to people,
Mm.
it's like I want to give something, but in the end, it's like I'm learning more
Right.
than I'm giving
It's
to them.
ironic, right? Because
Yeah.
people will say that when for others, it's
Mm-hmm.
just somehow difficult. There's like the resistance to give
Mm-hmm.
because you're looking at what you're lacking.
Mm-hmm.
But when it doesn't, you always have something to give, and it's nothing to do with volume, but it's something to do with the quality of what you're giving. And true enough, when you give, there is this sense of fulfillment that comes with it. And
Mm-hmm.
when you see that what you have given made a huge impact to someone else,
Yeah.
that is sort of, if you're looking at ROI, but there shouldn't be, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because when you give, that should be a selfless act.
Mm-hmm.
And besides everything that we have, they were also given to us by
Yeah.
the one who is the provider.
Yeah,
So
agree. I have one more question. This is a bit technical, but I want,
okay.
I don't know if it's
Technical.
technical, but for me, it's a bit technical for me.
Okay.
Okay, the question is, how do you organize your thoughts whenever you're doing your podcast? Like,
Okay.
for me, doing an interview is a lot easier than talking to your phone or talking to the Anchor app for the next 30 minutes. It's like I haven't done it yet and I haven't tried talking just continuously
Okay.
on the phone. It's like whenever I'm talking with you, this is a lot easier because we are interacting with each other.
Yeah, bouncing up
I can
ideas.
hear your thoughts, you can hear my thoughts, and we
Burst.
can converse.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can converse, and it will just naturally flow.
Right.
But when you're talking with the phone through the
Mhm.
Anchor app, how do you do it? I mean, do you have a storyboard? Do you have the outline, or
Okay.
how do you organize your thoughts in a manner that it will just flow and it will become natural?
Okay, so backstory, when it started, I had no idea how to do a podcast, right? So
Mhm.
I saw Anchor app and
Mm.
their tagline, it's the easiest way to do a podcast. So
Mhm.
okay, I'm gonna do it through Anchor. And I remember sitting on the floor with my phone on my bed and I'm
Mhm.
just doing this and just very
Yeah.
close
In
to
your
the
bed.
Yes. So I just started talking. And I was just talking about everything that I'm doing during quarantine or during
Mhm.
lockdown. And when I stopped talking, I realized that it's 50 minutes already.
50.
50.
Wow.
Yeah. So I was like, oh wow, I've been talking a lot for the past 50 minutes. And I didn't have, all I had then was an idea of, I want to share what I was doing then.
But how?
What's keeping me busy or occupied what are the challenges that I was facing during the pandemic and how did I
Yeah.
address those challenges or navigate through
But
those
did you
challenges.
listen to it right away? I mean, when you
I did.
how's the feeling? Do you feel?
It felt weird.
Yeah, I,
The-
I tried
and I
it.
think,
I tried to
yeah.
do the video. Like I record myself talking. Oh my god,
it,
this is so awkward.
that's actually, it might not be a good idea to listen right away, because that it will have, I don't know, it felt weird, but since I've
Yeah.
been wanting to do it, so I've been recording my voice.
Yeah.
I think
So when did you
since
feel
October.
comfortable recording?
I think when I hit publish,
Oh,
that's
okay.
when, okay, it's real, it's
It's
there,
real.
it's out there for people, it's public, so for
Mhm.
people to listen. But at the same time, there's this sense of, I don't know if it's a relief or more of like fulfillment, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
that you did something that you've always wanted to do and you
Ah,
finally did it.
yeah. Mhm.
And I think it's more of like, I started. And that was the most
True.
liberating feeling, to
True.
be able to do something and you actually started doing
And
it.
act on it.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
acted on the desire
Yes.
of doing something that you've always wanted to do.
True.
And that for me, I think if there's anyone who was wanting to create something but on the fence whether they should create it or not, or whether they should start, just go ahead and start.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need permission from anyone.
Yeah, agree. Oh, fast forward. So now, how do you do it now? Like you have the
Now-
outline, the storyboard. Do you write it? Do you?
Okay, so yeah, that's a very good question, because when I started, I would often write the outline on the day or hours before I record and then publish it. So I was cramming most of the time.
Yeah.
But now that I'm interviewing people, I had to schedule. So first was to outline the topics.
Mhm.
So what are the topics? Identify what the topics are based on the pain points of people, based on what I've observed from comments on Instagram,
Mhm.
DMs, and conversations with other people. So those are like the inspiration, that those scenarios are
What are
where I
the
get.
normal comments? The usual one.
The usual ones would be like for the creatives, like pricing the
Pricing,
art.
yeah.
How do you price your art, or how do you address creative block? How do you transition from a hobbyist to
Mhm.
a creative entrepreneur?
How about the general one?
The general ones would be how to handle stress, how to manage
Relationships.
relationships. Yeah, so we'll get into that in the podcast, but it's really more a productivity, self-growth, how to get
Yeah.
started when you're feeling lost, how to
Mhm.
be productive
how-tos
in
of
in the
life,
season of waiting, the usual stuff that we deal
Mhm.
with on a daily basis, that I think all of us are aware, but sometimes you need to put a structure around it,
Mhm.
and sometimes you need a nudge by listening to someone talk about it more.
Yeah. Great.
So the podcast really is not to impose anything to the
Mhm.
listeners, but it's the purpose is really more to inspire,
Inspire.
and encourage others. So in the sense, in the aspect of creativity, it's more of, you have something in you
Mhm.
and the world needs it. So go ahead and live it out. Go ahead and publish it. Show up, not just for yourself, because when you show up and you are authentic in showing up, people will see it and they will resonate with
Sure.
it. So
So going back, so
Yeah.
the storyboard,
the
outline.
storyboard, the outline. So I do create an outline of the topics and then identify who will be the
The
resource
pinpoint,
for it. And then I will reach out to the
Yeah.
resource. And I'll introduce myself. There's an outline for it as well. What I do, what's the podcast is all about, what's the topic going to be, and why I think they would be a good fit for it. And then we'll schedule a meeting, like a catch up or touch base session, and then we will pick a date. And then we'll start, and then that would be the catch up session, and then we'll record and then publish.
Publish.
So I have managed to create a workflow on, like, create a teaser, create a template for the Instagram post, and then create a template for the Instagram story. So it's like more of a plug and play now
Nice.
compared to before.
Nice, nice.
I think systems and workflows are really important.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
agree with
especially
that.
if you're a creator, because that will help you to automate things
Yeah.
and to
Make
manage
it
your
just
time.
flow, yeah.
Yeah, manage your time more productively and efficiently.
Yeah, I agree. Let's fast forward now to the last 58 episodes.
Okay.
What are the most memorable episodes for you? It's 58 episodes, yeah.
Oh wow!
The first
it's hard to.
the first
I guess
episode
the first,
that yeah.
the first one would be of course the first the
very
first
first one.
episode. Yeah, that because
What's
that's
the first one?
creative ways to to navigate through the challenges of
Pandemic.
pandemic. Yeah.
I see.
So I think I shared a lot on that. That was 50 minutes, I think. So that was a lot. And I think that was the most played. I guess because it's number one. So when you're done listening to the most recent, it will bring you to the first one.
First one.
Yeah, so I guess
Agree.
that's how why it's the most played. But so that's one. And then I love all the interviews. I'm not gonna
Interviews.
pick one because I love all of them because I learned so
You did
much.
enjoy, right?
Because I've been doing solo a lot, but when I started interviewing people, it's different when you're bouncing
True.
ideas and talking like this, conversing with
Mhm.
someone else.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I mean, monologue and is fine, and I'm comfortable with it, but
Mm-hmm.
having someone to bounce ideas with and to converse with has a different dynamic
Mm-hmm.
altogether. So I love doing it. I love listening to people talk about their stories, and because I'm inspired,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm sure they are also inspiring other people as well. I just believe that everyone has a story to tell,
Mm-hmm.
and hopefully the platform will provide them the avenue to do just that.
Mm-hmm. But what's anything memorable that comes to mind?
Oh my gosh, it's so hard because there's 58
Not
episodes.
the favorite. I mean, just a memorable instances or interviews that you can remember
For interviews,
that made an
'cause
impact in your life.
the interviews would be, I think, the relationship ones during the pandemic.
Relationships.
Yeah, the people that I interviewed with. So some of them really had to go through a difficult time, like being far from family.
Mm-hmm.
Someone had to cancel their wedding. Someone had to do their wedding virtually for the first time. I mean, of course, not that there's no second time, but it's an entirely different
Yeah. The planning
world,
was totally
environment, and norm.
yeah.
So actually the season one when I talked about the pandemic and all of those topics related to it,
Mhm.
I think were really memorable because that was the time that we were all transitioning to the new norm. We were all clueless as to how to navigate, and we didn't have an idea as to
Mhm.
how long it will take for it to be over, and we are still in it. And
Mhm.
it's been a year. So, sort of the anniversary of the podcast coincides with the pandemic
Yeah.
altogether. So, if I'm going to go back to this, all of these episodes,
I think
10
the
years from
pandemic's
now,
really instrumental in you publishing all of those. Yeah.
I would say yes, but I think it's just not me. A lot of people have really shown their creative
Creative
side.
side.
Yeah. During the pandemic. So if there's
True.
one thing really that the pandemic has brought in would be
Mhm.
people rising up to the occasion and people realizing some of the
That they have
things.
something in them.
Yes, because there are a lot of things that we were kids, right, that you've always dreamt of doing, but
Mhm.
you had to push them aside. So with us, with everything being on pause, on hold,
Mhm.
and we're given the time,
True.
that serve as an opportunity to
Yeah.
reflect. So
Agree. One more question. In the last 58 episodes, what are the
please
hardships
don't
that you
let me
encountered?
choose.
No, hardships that you encountered.
Okay.
Because I remember, I was listening to the top things that I have learned about podcasting because I was researching about it. Okay, and after reading it, some of the talking points was like they find it very hard. That's why after 7 episodes or 8 episodes, they stop.
Mm.
So, do you have those episodes like, I'm very tired of doing this, I just want to stop, I just want to quit? Or, I mean, are there any hardships or are there anything
At some point,
that
I
hold
think
you?
it's around season 2 because season 1 was on fire because it was all about pandemic. Yes,
The
right.
honeymoon season.
Yeah, then season 2, at some point I felt, what am I gonna talk about? What topic should I start interviewing? So I was in that crossroad,
Mhm.
and at some point I had to pause for a
Mhm.
while. I think there was one in season 2. There were about 1 or 2 episodes wherein I
Mhm.
had to not. I didn't record for like 3 weeks
Oh.
because I didn't know what to say and I felt exhausted.
Mhm.
Because at that point, I think I became concerned on how many people are listening to the podcast. Should I continue?
Oh.
Is it still serving its purpose? So it came to a point that I was questioning whether if it's still adding value to anyone.
Mhm.
But ironically, when I started asking questions and I was journaling and I wrote it down, there was a DM. about yeah, someone saying that I listened to your episode about how to protect your peace, and it's exactly what I needed.
Yeah.
And I even shared it with a friend,
Okay.
and I was like, okay, even if it's just even if the podcast is reaching one person, what's important is that it's making a difference. Maybe not a huge one, but it's making an impact to
Impact.
someone's day, to someone's life.
True.
And I think whatever we do, I think that's more important, right?
Yeah.
More than the numbers, more than if there is any monetary value, it's really the impact that you're creating,
Sure.
you're making to someone's life by just putting out a content that you initially thought is not gonna amount to anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm thankful that you continue because
Thank
you don't
you.
realize how much impact you are giving to people.
One other thing that I want to highlight before we wrapped up is that this wouldn't have been possible if not for this circle of friends like you that I have who have been supportive since day
Yeah,
one.
we're the guinea pig. Me, Talin, and Cha.
That's true. That's true. It's funny because when I told you guys, it's like, guys, you don't have a choice. You have to join me. You have to be on my interview. And like Cha, I remember the transitions, right? For Mother's Day, it was like, what time? It's wee hours in the morning, like really early, like around 2 a.m. or 4 a.m. I think, and we were recording, and then her baby Ethan was was waiting. So we were like, oh my gosh, things that you do for a friend. So
True.
I think it's really important to surround yourself with people who maybe not really like-minded, but it's important that you're surrounded with
Supportive.
people who will support you,
True.
who will tell you, who will call you out, but these are the people who would really fuel you to continue doing what you love and what you're passionate about, and reminding you and keeping you grounded as well.
Yeah.
I think that it's really important. I posted it on Instagram that you are the sum of your circle,
True.
and that's true.
Absolutely
I stand
true.
by it.
Yeah. Okay, so before we wrap up, I just want to ask what excites you the most about podcasting now?
Now it's really the people that I'm interviewing.
Yeah.
I am excited because these are the people that I've
You're
been,
learning a lot.
I'm learning a lot, and I'm building relationship,
Mm-hmm.
and these are the people that I've been seeing on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
It's really not about the number of the followers that they have, but
Mhm.
there's something about the story that they have as a
Mhm.
creative that I think would be beneficial and would definitely add value to anyone who is listening. So I would like their story to be shared through the platform, and I'm grateful that they are very generous
Yeah.
with their time, with their resources, with their wisdom and insights. So if you're asking about what's in the pipeline, that's what's in the pipeline.
Yeah. And I'm excited for you as well.
Thank you. And you should do your
Exact-
own podcast too, because
Yeah.
anyone can do a podcast, guys. It's so easy. Anchor app. I should be endorsing Anchor.fm. Yes. It's the easiest way to do a podcast.
Yeah. Oh, thank you for that.
Thank you.
But I just want to do this. We,
Oh no!
We do have this rapid fire question,
Okay,
or in
okay.
our country, it's the fast talk
Fast
question.
talk, fast talk, fast talk.
So you just need to answer right away.
Okay.
Whether you choose from the stuff that I'm going to say, or you just answer the thing that comes, the first thing that comes
Close
to
to
your
my
mind.
mind.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Game.
Tea or milk?
Tea.
Favorite food?
Avocado toast.
Mountains or beach?
Woo! Beach.
Sunrise or sunset?
Sunset.
Calligraphy or watercolor?
Oh my gosh. Watercolor.
Podcast or arts?
Podcast.
Dream personality that you want to interview?
Kathy Heller.
Choice Spring for me. Major influencer in your life right now?
Major influencer. Someone that
That influence you so much?
there's a lot.
The first thing that comes to mind.
Right now,
Yeah.
Jenna Kutcher and
Jenna
Boss
Kutcher.
Babe.
Okay.
2.
Podcast that you're very hooked right now?
Boss Babe.
Boss Babe. Oh. Series or shows that you're currently binge watching right now?
Vincenzo!
Vincent. The Korean one that you watched
Sung
earlier.
Joong Ki, yeah.
Sung Joong Ki.
Oh,
Okay.
wow.
Oh, what activities do you think makes you feel so alive?
Activities makes me feel so
Makes
alive.
yeah,
Museums.
museums.
Going to
Yeah,
museums.
I
I
miss doing
miss going
those.
to museums
Yeah, we
and
need to go back.
musicals.
Yeah.
Yeah. We need to go back.
Last one, love or career?
Do I really have to
Yeah,
choose?
you need.
Well, I have love from God right now, so I'll choose career.
That's not the love that I'm referring to.
I feel loved every day, so I'll choose career.
Okay, I'll give that to you.
Yay!
Anyway, yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Bien, for hosting. He is hosting today's podcast. But hope you guys enjoyed that.
Congratulations again
Thank
for
you.
for
Thank
one
you
year.
for being supportive for the past year.
Of
And for
course.
joining me, because you don't have a choice. But join me on the podcast. But this is the first episode that we're doing
Yeah,
a video.
congratulations.
A video. So I'm planning to do more of this moving forward for the other episodes. But thank you guys for tuning in to Thought Bubble with Jay and for supporting the podcast for the past year. It's been an amazing ride, and I'm grateful for your support, for your feedback, and I hope that you will continue to join me on my upcoming episodes. Until then, I'll talk to you soon. Bye.